been feeling ever so out of it today. I'm like, ugh. Okay. Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited to share with you some books that I bought, some books that I've taken out of the library, and some books that were gifted to me. So if you're new to my channel, then know that I'm Shelly. I really love books and reading. My eyeballs turn into little hearts, like that eyeball heart emoji, when I'm talking about books, and so thus I love to share this passion with you. And without any further rambling on, let's go ahead. Oh no, if you're new and you're liking the vibe, I would encourage you to subscribe, like the video, tell me what you've purchased recently down below, if you've purchased any books and why you purchased them. Would love to know. And now, without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I'm gonna leave what I purchased for myself for last. And I'm going to start with two books, and I am gonna nerd out just ever so slightly on both of them. And I actually have a partial review for one because I am more than halfway through with it. So the first book is Lev Grossman. This is from the library. Lev Grossman's The Bright Sword, which is his Arthurian retelling. I have read Lev Grossman's Magicians series. It's good. It's an interesting series. It's quite polarizing because the main character is deeply flawed and quite unlikable at times, Quentin, in that Magicians series. Overall, I liked it. It was very creative. So this is his next, I think, quite big novel that got a lot of press, I believe, for Lev Grossman. The Magician series also just got a lot of press because it was billed as a like a Hogwarts or a Harry Potter for adults. This is different because it's an Arthurian retelling, and so we readers tend to kind of go gaga over our retellings, and so this is getting quite a bit of press. And also, Lev Grossman is a literary name out there. So I am actually more than halfway through this book, and I am liking it. I will definitely leave my thoughts for a wrap-up, but I am quite liking it. There is something very lighthearted and sweet about this book. And some of the things that I thought Lev Grossman could have learned from in his writing of The Magicians, he definitely shows that he's grown up quite a bit in this novel. Mostly, it's interesting because The Magicians, the main character was just so immature at times and so unlikable at times. It was almost like, come on now. And in this, it has the same qualities. The main character is a young man, much like The Magicians, who is a bit of an underdog, much like The Magicians. I just feel like Lev Grossman is writing a way more likable and relatable character in The Bright Sword, which is great. And so this, interestingly, is a chunkster. It is less than 700 pages. It's like 660 pages about. And the next book is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, which the title, it's fine. It's not my favorite title. And this is by Christopher Paolini. Now, interestingly, if you put these books side by side, I would have thought that The Bright Sword was longer, had more of a page count. Indeed, no. This is not true. Instead, Paolini's book is denser, even though I think it's, in terms of the way the pages are stacked, it is slimmer, centimeters-wise, in thickness than The Bright Sword. I'm losing my train of thought. So this is actually 200 pages more than The Bright Sword, and actually the the font is smaller in To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. So I have this, actually also have it on my Kindle. Sometimes I just want to get my eyes on the actual physical copy, which is why I have both of these. I have both of these on my Kindle. And I think I'm going to start To Sleep Under a Sea of Stars probably in the next week or so. I did a video of 5 books I want to read before the end of the year. Both of these were on them, and I've actually almost finished that entire list. So yay me. So those are the 2 books I got from the library. I always find it interesting to compare books. I don't know, to see them in person. It tells you something about the book that you don't always get when you read it on the Kindle, and that you definitely don't get when you're listening to it as an audiobook. Okay, the next 3 books are books that were gifted to me by a friend, my very sweet friend Anita. She sends me books on a regular basis, which is so sweet. The first is this fantastically beautiful book, and it's called The Silence in Between by Josie Ferguson. This is about, so I'll read it to you so that I don't misinterpret what it says. So in the inside flap, it says, Lisette is in hospital with her baby boy. The doctors tell her to go home and get some rest, that he'll be fine. When she awakes, everything has changed because overnight on August 13, 1961, the border between East and West Berlin has closed, slicing the city and the world in two. So Lisette is trapped in the East while her newborn baby is unreachable in the West. With the streets in chaos and armed guards ordered to shoot anyone who tries to cross, her situation is desperate. That is like the premise of this book, and I thought that was fascinating. I have a handful of books about Eastern European history or set in Eastern Europe. And for this, this Berlin, the East and West, and the wall that goes up. So I mean, it'll be added to that collection, okay? It'll be added to that collection. I wonder, is this translated? This is not a translated novel. This is a debut work. Ferguson is Swedish, but she moved to Scotland when she was 2 and then returned to Sweden in her 20s and has moved here, there, and everywhere all over the globe. Kind of a globetrotter. Here we are. And that is the first book. Next up is a book that that ranks so high on the New York Times best 100 books of the 21st century, and it is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And this, again, it ranked rather high, and I have not read it. And I know this is a favorite among booktubers. It is a bit of a booktube darling. I don't know what to think of it. Actually, have I read anything by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie? I don't think I have. So this will be my first of hers. And I don't even think I own anything by her. But if there was one book that I would want to read by this author, it would be Americana. The last book that was gifted to me, and it's because my sweet friend Anita, she knows that I am all into drawing right now, and I have been pretty much this entire year. It's gotten more and more focused on children's art. And so anyways, this falls right in line with what I am currently doing. And it is a drawing and painting book. And this is by Jane Davenport, and it's called Beautiful Faces. I'm sure that I've actually checked this exact book out from the library, and I thought it was very beautiful, but I never purchased it for myself. So now I'm so glad to have a copy, and it's Jane Davenport sharing her techniques with art. Hopefully I'll have like a little bit of B-roll to show you the books, the pages as I'm flipping through and talking about it. Oh my goodness. I'm so ineloquent today. I don't know what is happening, but yes, a drawing and painting book for me, which is perfect. Finally, the last 3 books are books that I picked out for myself, and the first is a classic. It's supposed to be a hilarious classic, and it is Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. I know a ton of people who have read it and love this, and it's supposed to be fantastic. I think it's so funny that in this Wordsworth Classics edition, it says complete and unabridged. And I'm like, well, why would you want the abridged version? I'm not about the abridging over here, but yeah, Jerome K. Jerome, it's supposed to be funny, great, fantastic. And there's actually even more modern pieces that play with and reference Jerome K. Jerome's Three Men in a Boat, which is fantastic. I also have a Dorothy Dennett book. I'm going to read the book in the series, A Game of Kings. I am going to read A Game of Kings before the end of the year. And this is the first book in her other series, which is Niccolo Rising. Funnily, I owned all of these on my Kindle, but I couldn't pass up seeing a physical book out in the wild of Miss Dorothy Dennett. And the first book in a series, no less. So I don't know. She's like catnip to me. I am so curious about her. If I see her books, I'm like, immediately like, I want to know about her. And so yeah, I picked this up. And then finally, weirdly, when I was actually book shopping, I was looking for sometimes when I'm in the bookstore, I'm just browsing. I'm just reading, especially if I'm in like a Goodwill, I read through all the spines. That's my technique, is I read through all the spines. I start on the bottom shelf or the top shelf, and I read all the spines all the way around, snaking all the way down to the end so that I don't miss anything. It's like, I am very particular when I shop, especially like Goodwill stores, but when it's a bookstore, I have to be in more focus because I literally don't have the time to read all the spines. And my eyes start to cross if I try and do that because it's just too much. So I'm always looking for specific titles when I get into bookstores. And so when I was at this bookstore, which was gorgeous, amazing, tons and tons of books, one of my favorite books in the county, bookstores in the county, rather, I noticed that sometimes I go in and I don't really have a plan, and so I have to pull up on my phone some Google Docs that I keep of lists of books that I want, because yeah, I'm that person. I have actual lists and lists and lists, and I also have, you know, Goodreads that keeps some of my books, account of some of the books that I want to read. I'm just that bee out there shopping, and I have like all these titles that I'm looking for. And then I realized that there is actually one author that I'm so curious about, and that I want to read her historical fiction, but I think it will be tremendously difficult to find, and that is Daphne du Maurier. I want to read Daphne du Maurier's historical fiction. I'm just so curious about what she's produced in that genre. Not her My Cousin Rachel or Rebecca or all of the other ones that she's Jamaica in. I don't want to read all of those. I mean, I want to read those. I've read 2 of those 3. I just haven't read My Cousin Rachel. But what I'm actually interested in is like the books that nobody talks about anymore. I'm also really interested in Taylor Caldwell's historical fiction. It's like a whole thing out there, okay? Like, it's a whole thing, but I couldn't find any of that. I just thought I would let you in on my like little shopping brain of what I am looking for, and putting it out there in the world. But what I actually came up with and came out with after the Dorothy Dunn and Jerome K. Jerome is Sebastian Barry, Days Without End, and I've heard great things about Sebastian Barry's historical fiction, so I decided to pick this up, and I heard it's great. You know, let's be real, it made it to Steve Donahue's best of list sometime in the past, you know, and I was like, so since I've had this book on my radar, I decided to pick it up. I also, well, yeah, we're not going to talk about just authors that I want to read from. There's a constant catalog of books, but you know what, if you believe it or not, sometimes when I walk into the actual shopping extravaganza, my mind goes blank. It's like there's too many choices. And then I get home and I'm like, why didn't I look for that person? And why didn't I look for that person? Which is why lists are so helpful. It helps me not to just totally freeze up and just look at the shelves with a dazed look in her eyes. So yeah. Anyhow, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being here. What have you bought? I want to know. Leave it all down below. I'm curious. And hopefully I'll see you all in my next one. Bye!